Welcome to Pitch It To Me Podcast, a show about the subjective past, present, and potential future of Flesh and Blood design. Today's episode will contain nothing but baseless and indulgent speculation as we get hyped for the high seas. You can find us across all socials such as Bluesky and Instagram at Pitch It To Me Podcast.
I'm Joel.
I'm Fuzzy.
And I'm Clark. Guys, did you see that announcement? Oh my god, high seas!
Let's go.
High seas.
We're getting pirates.
In 4 months.
I'm definitely a little more hyped for this set than I was when they told us the very little about Hunted, that they did.
Yeah.
Hunted gave us nothing. It was just okay, Hunted.
I kind of like how they're expanding on the story, right? Where we get to see these different chapters in Flesh and Blood story play out. I kind of like that, where it's all connected.
Yeah.
But who doesn't love pirates?
The hype for Hunted didn't really start until they said this is the dagger set. That's when everyone was like, ooh, okay. Yeah. But high seas, how long has DM Armada just been
Dude, I know.
calling for pirates?
Everyone's gonna lose their shit. Well, actually, I think everyone's already lost their shit. It's gone.
We love pirates, right?
Yeah.
We're even outspoken fans of pirates on this show. We did an entire episode where we did a custom class for pirates slash
that's
swashbucklers.
True. Yeah.
It was a really fun episode. We also had our good friend Captain Hornswoggle on the pod.
Yeah, I remember him.
Whatever happened to him?
Fuzzy, really?
Oh, sorry. I have to take this.
Okay.
Hello?
Yar, Fuzzy, is that you?
Captain Hornswoggle, we were just talking about you.
Wait, what? Who?
Boys, I saw it. I got the cast onto my laptop computer. High seas are here. It is my set for my Flesh and Blood. I'm on my way, boys. Don't start without me.
Captain Hornswoggle, we already hit record. I think we have to do the episode.
Oh, it's okay. There's time. There's time before pitch and predictions, yes?
Yeah, pitch and predictions, we're not going to do that for another couple months, probably.
Okay, so if I go around India and then around Africa, and then I go back and then back again, and then I avoid those.
Just meet us in Long Beach, California.
I can make it to Long Beach. I promise. I'm on my way, everybody. No, wait. Sorry, boys, there might be a delay. There's some pirates on the distance.
Oh no, Captain Hornswoggle, are you going to be okay?
Probably not, but I'll make do. I may have one less limb when I get there. Sorry, a cannonball whizzed over me head there. All right, I'm on my way. I'll see you soon, boys.
Well, good luck, Captain Hornswoggle. Stay safe. Love that guy.
Man, talk about the wrong hood, you know what I mean?
Yeah, where was he in the South Indies?
I think he was on his way to Long Beach, Florida.
Is there a Long Beach, Florida?
There's a lot of Long Beaches. I know there's one in Mississippi.
Weird.
Yeah.
Hope he doesn't go there.
No.
I specified Long Beach, California.
Yeah, you were pretty clear.
He's a pretty good pirate captain. I think he'll be fine.
Oh no, he was getting attacked by pirates. I'm not sure if he heard you.
That's normal pirate behavior.
Yeah.
True.
I'd be concerned if he wasn't being attacked by pirates.
It comes with the territory. He knows what he got himself into.
Yeah.
Before we get into the main body of the episode, we want to remind everyone that we launched our Patreon recently. It's been really cool seeing people sign up so early on. We're so grateful to everyone who's joined our Patreon already. So if you want to join those skilled individuals on our Patreon, you can search Pitch It To Me Podcast. That's where we are.
Yeah, shout out to everyone who joined so far. Thank you so much for showing your support for the show. And we're so excited to get into our matches of Crucible with you guys.
Yeah, this month's Crucible format is uncommoner. So we're playing with just rares and majestics and legendaries. Fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. So our setup for this episode, this is going to be slightly odd because normally with every single set, we just do the pitch and predictions and then a set review and a limited opinions.
Yeah, we just couldn't stop ourselves from talking about the set. We're just too excited.
I think we're also lucky because we're so far ahead of any other information, right?
Mm-hmm.
With pitch and predictions, we've always wondered when is the right time to do it. Because if you do it too soon, then okay, what did we spend all this time talking about when they're just going to reveal everything immediately afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
But now high seas is 4 months away, guys. It's not until June.
Yeah, this might be the first time where we're not like immediately invalidated by an LSS spoiler. So we thought, why not jump into the hype and do some speculating?
Yeah, I just wish you wouldn't say it out loud like that, because now I feel like they're going to give us some more information like in 1
They
week.
totally could. We are recording this on Tuesday, February 11th.
So for this episode, for Red Pitch, Joel's going to walk us through some new classes or talents that we may see in the new set, High Seas. In Yellow Pitch, Clark's going to walk us through some of the mechanics that might pop up, get into the nitty-gritty mechanical stuff. And in Blue Pitch, I, Fuzzy, will be talking about some of the returning classes or talents that we might see show up. It's all speculation, right? We don't know anything, but we're going to talk as if we see what we were hoping to see.
We're the
you know?
experts. Listen to us.
This is gonna. It's also gonna be pretty free flowing, right?
Yeah.
This is not like us preparing a ton of notes. It's just like, here are the things that we want to talk about.
We're devolving into that stream of consciousness podcast that you're so used to. So yeah, enjoy.
So Joel, why don't you kick us off with Red Pitch?
All right. Now, if you're watching the Dev Talk with Brian Go and James Watt, you know they confirmed pirates are coming to the High Seas. So let's talk about pirates first. Do we think it's going to be a class, a talent, or some other third thing that's really cool? And
Yeah. Could it just be aesthetic?
Maybe.
Right? It could just be like pirate rangers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
It's a possibility.
you know what? What I was thinking is, I think they might be incentivized to not add like a new class or talent, and instead they might do something like stealth. Stay with me here. So stealth, it means nothing on a card, right? It gets affected by other things. So similar to stealth, like stealth doesn't really mean anything on its own, but instead gets affected by other cards. If your hero is pirate, it would have maybe different, or each attack action would have different effects based on which hero plays it. And in that way, you can make new cards mechanics, but you could still give support to, like, for instance, if there's a pirate ranger in this like metaphorical pirate means nothing class identity, so you give support for ranger itself and allow a cool limited environment with pirate ranger.
Okay. So you're saying like there would be pirate heroes, but there wouldn't be like any pirate cards. Like no cards to go into the deck or equipment labeled pirate.
Right. It would just be like
Like the royal talent.
yeah, like Art of the Dragon series, where if it's draconic, it gets a bonus effect, but it would be a little bit more modal than that, because I think, giving support to Ranger would still be good, because it's been a while since they've had a set.
Yeah.
I could see like LSS has been a while since they've delved into the Ranger class, so maybe they've been holding back so much because we're about to get a massive overhaul where they get this big expansion of design space, a whole new keyword where they're swashbuckling and pirating around, and
Yeah. Well, we're talking a bit too much about like returning stuff, right? Like these rangers with pirates. Like, are they going to do a pirate class? I think they totally could. It would be a little odd though, right? Because so much of people's outline of what classes are going to be in Flesh and Blood comes from that profession page, from the old school lore book. But notably, that lore book didn't even have all of the classes that we ended up getting in the first like year of Flesh and Blood.
I mean, I could also see pirate being like a more enterprising occupation in the world of Wraith or in the world of Flesh and Blood than it is like how we know it. So they could make it work in their lore. I don't know. I think you, Clark, have been especially vocal about how LSS needs to like put more work and effort into their world building and their lore. So maybe this is just a part of that.
Yeah.
I think I kind of have to bring up the elephant in the room here, which is like, can the game handle another class being added? Because when it came to Assassin, like there were some growing pains for like another class being introduced that like there's an opportunity cost there where they can only print so much support and they can only give so much like to the game at one time. And the more classes there are, the longer the line is for your class to get support directed at you in the future,
Yeah.
Certainly. But I think they've actually done a pretty good job of helping fix that recently through things like the armory decks, the expansion slot. Like, it's done a wonderful job of actually help metering things out. I think Rangers would have been complaining a while ago if it wasn't for the fact that they had this like steady drip of new cards. But in terms of like, is there room for a new class? Just, is that even a possibility? I think yes. But I don't think they can do it the same way that they did Assassin.
Yeah.
Because with Assassin, they overprinted Assassin to give them an equivalently sized card pool.
You mean like they kept returning to Assassin over and over again?
Yes, they kept printing Assassin. Like the fact that we got 3 draftable Assassin sets within like a year and a half is pretty ridiculous, right? Like no other class has had that density of printing ever. And so like I would like to see them try a strategy where they learn from that, where they go, I think people got pretty sick of seeing Assassin all the time. So next time we add a class to Flesh and Blood, we're going to be more okay eking it out over time, especially because after Outsiders, Assassin still felt pretty okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Technically, Ninja got that much support because didn't they print a Ninja in every Assassin draftable set?
Yes, though I suppose you could argue just how much they really got in Outsiders. But yes, Fuzzy, there are a ton of Ninja cards because Ninja's gotten printed alongside Assassin.
Yeah.
Every single time.
I'm also wondering if there's like a third way they could do a limited set like this. Obviously, when Bright Lights hit, that was because there was one mechanologist for a very long time with probably the smallest card pool next to Assassin. So what they did to remedy that was the one class set. And I think a lot of people speculated or like wished they would never do this again, like especially if you were not a mechanologist fan.
Yeah.
However, everybody objectively loves pirates, and if you think differently, you're wrong. First and foremost,
You think this is a single class set?
I think it could be. I think
Yo.
if they're committed to remedy or like learning from their mistakes about how they like essentially botched the launch of Assassin. Like I think Assassin's getting really solid support now, and it's a mainstay in Flesh and Blood meta. But yeah, if they're trying to fix the issues of that and release pirates in a new line, I think like all pirates would be kind of cool.
A single class set for their release is interesting. But the mastery packs have kind of taken that place, right?
That's true.
And so, like, it's one of the reasons why I don't think we're getting Guardian this year is because we have Mastery Pack Guardian. They've just taken the Guardian designs that they wanted to print and put it into that product. Why would you then also feel the need to put it into this draftable set?
That is true.
I think what could be really likely if they wanted to jumpstart this identity is to make it a talent similar to Mystic. Like we saw 3 Mystic heroes in the same set when the talent was introduced, and they could do a similar thing here with Pirate. Make a Pirate Ranger, a Pirate, I don't know. We'll talk about some other classes that we expect to see later.
If Pirate is a talent, then they could certainly do that and incorporate it that way.
Oh yeah, I want Blackbeard so bad.
It gets a lot easier to Kachuka staple it into like whatever classes they want. And suddenly there's so many pirates in the game and a variety of flavors that you can like stick with.
Contrary to how people feel about Mystic, they did release with a lot of really good stuff, and they were very powerful, and they're still very relevant. So I think they could do that with Pirate very easily, and they would be good heroes, even though it's like their inaugural set.
Yeah. I think the lesson that I really learned from Part the Misfail is that you don't necessarily need a large amount of cards, right? It can just be the few really well-designed good cards that are solid,
Yeah.
And I think we also need to be careful about equating, like, power and meta relevance with good design and, like, it being fun and healthy. Because they are definitely separate, right? Levia is still fun and interestingly designed without being relevant in the meta.
True.
And that doesn't make me upset. I mean, I wish Levia was better, but like, I'm still happy that I have this like well-designed thing that I love and get to play.
The other thing that like a class is differentiated. The other thing that differentiates a class from a talent as far as like printing support for it. Like we don't print support for talents very often, but there's an expectation for classes that we visit it like at least every once in a while. Like the light talent, we saw 2 sets in the entire history of the game that have light talent in them, other than like expansion slot cards, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of feels like enough.
Yeah, no one's clamoring for like the next light set.
I mean, like, it would be cool. Or, like, Earth talent, right? There's only 2 sets that have ever had the Earth talent in them, and it kind of feels okay. The precedent is there, Do you think, like, Pirate as an aesthetic identity is something that we would want to return to repeatedly, or, like, once every other year?
I think if they do it well, they can kind of like hold off of printing more.
I think occasionally, especially because they are so attached to very specific locations, which I think could be a struggle, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to put a pirate in landlocked Solana.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, like, if we go to the Demonastery and we do, like, a Demonastery set, are there going to be pirates at the Demonastery? Or, like, is it going to be an undead pirate? Like, a shadow pirate?
So this is where, like, we mentioned this in our pirate custom class episode, but if we do a little tweak and we call them swashbuckler instead, this was like an idea that you had. I want to credit you, Clark. You were the one who like mentioned this in the past, but like it seems so smart to me. Like a swashbuckler could be anyone. That could just be like a tricksy individual who likes mischief and is there making fun of all the people having their great war over the war between like angels and demons, you know? Like, it makes me think of, like, Tybalt from Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Or even, like, Ashiok.
Fucking love that guy. He's such a piece of shit, but I love him so much.
It's easy to insert an ancillary character that's just everyone likes them because they don't give a fuck. Like, that's a swashbuckler to me, you know?
Yeah.
With just a little bit more of, like, a medieval fantasy flavor, and then bada bing, bada boom, it wouldn't be that hard to stick one in, like, any set.
Yeah. I definitely think that, like, if it's going to be a class or a talent, it would need to be widened out a little bit from pirates. That's what makes me think that pirates might just be an aesthetic choice.
Yeah.
And we get these other classes just in the flavor of pirates. But that isn't the only brand new thing people have speculated on coming here.
That's true. They've also been really obsessed with the idea of necromancers coming to Flesh and Blood.
Oh yeah, baby, that's the other custom class episode
Yeah,
we've done.
dude.
Yeah, didn't we do that episode also?
You know,
That we did.
I mean, you can only get it here at Pitch to Me podcast.
PITM makes
Link
high
the fuck
seas.
up.
I actually really love that episode. Like, when I think back to like how well we each created 3 unique identities that all felt very necromancer and like unique mechanically in the game. That was a great episode.
Yeah, I did enjoy that one. So what do we think for necromancer? Class or talent?
I think class. It is on the professions page from the lore book. If they were to do it, I think it would be class.
Is it really like right now?
Yes,
Oh,
it is.
well.
And I also think a reason why necromancer is highly likely for high seas is because, did you see that video? It was like dark.
I did not.
It was really dark and stormy.
Necromancers are notorious night owls.
Yeah.
And the logo was a bright green. It was like a bright ghostly green, which is what we have seen with the like necromancer spoiled cards, like Cut Through the Facade, right? Those ghosts that are flying around in that art are sort of like the like bright sickly green.
And I'm also really thinking about, I think it's called Glyph Overlay or Glyph something.
Yeah, that one has a pirate ship out at sea.
And that lady in the water.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of magic in this set, it feels like.
Yeah, which kind of ties into my vision of necromancer as being another arcane class.
Sure.
Ick.
Understandable. Have a great day.
I could also see it, though. I don't think they would want to return to allies, although they have been printing really good ally hate lately.
Yeah.
But it could be bones,
It could
skeletons.
100% be allies.
Yeah. And you
Although, like, you know, a necromancer would probably have like really fragile allies that could have like a whole nother way of being balanced, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to see how LSS returns to allies in the near future, outside of illusionists.
And if you think about their stated goals for 2025, one of the things was about like printing the ability for people to deal with these strategies.
Yep.
Allies are one of those strategies that we need more tools for in the game.
And it would be a really good like baseline for ally hate for when they do Dromite 2.0 eventually.
Or even like the armory deck would come out around high seas time. We have armory decks like, I think there's, along with the Aurora one, I think we have 2 more leading up
Really?
into high seas.
Before high seas?
It's either 1 or 2. I can't remember if the 2 included Aurora or didn't.
I do remember there was going to be a bunch back to back in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
See, that's exciting.
That's what's helping us like keep the meta fresh throughout like these 4 months of
Yeah,
London.
I've really enjoyed the armory decks. So we talked a little bit about the classes, but we've left out talents. Does anyone have any grand ideas for talents? I have one myself.
You go first, Joel.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear. Joel, you wrote things in these notes that I just want to hear you talk about, dude.
So, okay. This is kind of a long one. Fuzzy made this comment about like, you know, what would even the magic be like if there was like a rune blade or a wizard? You know what I mean? And I think he said like storm or like controlling storms or whatever. And so I was like, well, what if it's like storm magic or like essence of storm as the magic source? Or, and what if they're called like, or like they're Storm Striders, and then Storm Striders is already a wizard equipment. So what if there's wizard pirates and they wear the Storm Striders?
Dude. I mean, we'll get to this in Blue Pitch, but about returning when we talk about wizards.
I just had to get it all out there.
I'll hold on to my little factoid until then.
Okay.
But I love the essence of Storm Shout because, one, we have the fire talent with Draconic, we have the ice talent, we have lightning, we have earth, but we don't really have water, right?
Well, we could have like a dual talented hero that's like got essence of ice and storm. Like that could just be really badass.
See?
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool. But I also love this because one of the first cards where people really started talking about this potential set, right? When like it started feeling more real because we started seeing clues in cards was Truce.
Yes.
And Truce had someone from Metrics shaking hands with someone from Aria over a map of the ocean.
Oh.
So the shout out of Aria, I think, is really interesting in getting elemental heroes again.
Yep.
But with essence of storm.
Yep.
Really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm baking that one for pitch and predictions.
And it'd be really easy to tie into like the lightning talent that already exists. You know?
Yeah. They would need to be careful of that, but I feel like if they root storm in water, which again, looking at that intro video, we got to use the clues that we have. This intro video is a ship in the middle of a storm. It is rocky oceans. It is dark. Like, it doesn't have to be lightning and thunder. And if you actually think about what storms look like a lot of the times on the ocean, it's not a bunch of lightning and thunder. It's giant waves and like torrential downpour.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's so much richness to the aesthetic of like ships and like terrible seas, terrible storms, and pirates. I'm just so excited about it.
Hurricanes and typhoons.
Because I'm also thinking like,
they are rooting this in Southeast Asia, right? The world premieres in Southeast Asia. It's super weird for me to make this connection, but like I know that area deals with like a lot of hurricanes and tropical storms.
oh, that's awful.
Well, like we deal with earthquakes, they deal with that. Everyone's got their own natural disasters.
That's true.
Well, we also have wildfires.
I really want to see some krakens too.
Oh,
I love
yes.
some fucking giant monsters.
Sea monsters.
I want to see the monster from Agile Windup show up.
Oh, yes. Oh, what a good... Oh, that's such a good call.
Yeah, dude. Oh, what if we see a return to like the deathmatch arena in some way?
Oh, that'd be interesting. I don't know how they do that.
You know, if they have like a port at the deathmatch arena and that's how they get in like their fighters or whatever. I don't know. I'm just making weird connections now.
There's a lot of spooks in the Flesh and Blood lore that've just been kind of hanging out in backgrounds of arts, and I'd be excited to see some more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big monsters, big scary monsters, me likey.
I love big monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thought I had too while you were monologuing about the talents, Clark, is can we get elements by themselves? Like we've only ever gotten them, you know, paired with something else, like Draconic and Ice, all the Arya elements, and then with Rosetta we got Earth and Lightning. So what if we just get a Lightning? Like
So like I ain't got no class, but I got talent.
Yeah. Like what if
Well, you're saying like they've always put at least 2 elemental talents in a class. This could be an instance where they just do one.
Yeah, I just think like if they were to sprinkle it in that way, they could get like Lexi in there.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the Lexi replacement is the last replacement that I think we're waiting on, right? It's Dromai and Lexi, who went out at approximately the same time, roundabouts.
Yeah. And she could be the new Storm user because she's Ice and Lightning.
Absolutely.
You know, that's like water and lightning in the same. Anyways. That's all I got. Thank you for enjoying my rambling. I think now we should go into like something a little bit more structured, like the mechanics. Clark, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so for Yellow Pitch, we want to talk about some of the mechanics, both new and returning, that we may see. And so I want to ease us in a little bit by talking about what I think is probably the most likely. James White has confirmed pirates, and you know what pirates love?
Our booty.
Booty! Gold, baby! Make it rain.
Maybe even some gemstones in there.
Yeah. So, shout out to Fuzzy's pitch, right?
What?
Way back when?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In the pirate episode.
Yeah.
You had
I had like gold token support.
Yeah.
Booty.
So gold makes a ton of aesthetic sense if we're going to be doing pirates in the way that we've seen them on like Nip at the Heels or in Shelter the Storm.
Yeah, it's why it's so easy for us to imagine Merchant being in this set, right?
Yeah. Gold is something that feels very applicable. And with new gold support means, hey, we should probably be casting and looking at some of those heavy hitters heroes, right? Like with more gold support, Betsy's headpiece comes online quicker and online faster and more reliably. With more gold support, Victor's drawing more cards. Like,
And Olympia has a
honestly,
a workable specialization.
Do we also think this could be the return of Wager?
Oh,
It can happen.
I think pirates would wager with each other.
Pirates
Yeah.
would be wagering left, right, and center.
Yeah. They got the bravado to be like, this is going to do exactly what I think it will do.
Yeah. And if you think about Outsiders giving us like the dagger re-equipping and the dagger support to Hunted, heavy hitters to this, it's not exactly, but I think it's
I like where you're going. The words you're
Yeah.
saying make me happy.
Yeah.
And it also makes sense that like we would see some gold design in the near future because it was a few months ago that we saw the banning of cash-in. During the book banning, they banned a bunch of cards that made a lot of sense. A bunch of cards that people were like, yeah, we can see how those are really strong. Cash-in was not necessarily one of those, but they said that if they ever want to return to gold in the future, that cash-in would make it a little bit difficult to have those designs because it creates that offensive overlap. And you have to wonder, like, was it something that they already had in their radar when they banned cash-in?
I think so. I think they were doing a really good job with like Crown of Seeds being banned, Berserk being banned,
Tome of the Firebrand. That was one of
Tome
those
of Firebrand
banned.
as well. Yeah,
Like, now that we've seen Hunted, everyone's like, yes, please, thank Christ you got rid of that card.
yeah, that card would have been insane in this set.
Yeah, but like they left Tome of Imperial Flame, which was explicitly and historically the stronger card at that moment. In a similar vein, I feel like Cash-In, if we're getting more gold support, everyone would be like, oh, thank God, everyone has gold now, and this would be ridiculous to play against.
Yeah, I bet she's going to be like every turn you get a gold or
I
some
still
shit.
miss cash-in. I loved that card so much.
I know.
It was a great card, and in fact, Viscera would be running the fuck out of it right now.
Oh, yeah.
The other mechanic I think we could see a return to, and we touched on this a little bit in Red Pitch, is allies and anti-allies. So admittedly, this is predicated on, one, we're getting the Necromancer, whether that's in talent or class, and it is showing up in a way that has allies.
I also think we could see pirates express themselves mechanically in a way where they have allies, you know?
Yeah, like crewmates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they've already done that mechanical space with Kasai and the Centauri Sellswords.
I think that's why it makes it so likely to me. It's so doable. We've seen them do it before. Why not do it again?
I also don't think they really like mastered anything by doing it with Kasai. I think there's a lot of room left to be explored.
Yeah.
And I also think like tying it to Kasai's hero ability and then wanting like Warrior to be good at this long game, but maybe we see allies in a bit more like the candle burns twice as fast but lasts half as long. So like allies maybe die when they swing or whatever, or like if you can't generate enough gold, you have a mutiny on your hands, you know?
No, that's certainly very interesting, yeah. I mean, I know that you dealt with a similar mechanic, Joel, in our Pirates episode where you had to sacrifice a gold token to keep yourself in a specific state.
Yeah. So I think mine was like, well, mostly what I just said is like, for every ally, you need to sacrifice something or pay them, essentially. Otherwise, you lose all of them. So maybe we could see something like that if we want to see it in a balanced way, but be like maybe more aggressive than the way we've seen it in Warrior.
And certainly different than in Warrior, right?
Yeah.
Like, they cannot print the same idea of Raise an Army, which is sacrifice gold, get allies. It would need to be something more unique than that.
For sure.
I think also just reiterating what I've already said in Red Pitch, we need anti-ally tools. And if their stated goal in 2025 is print the ability for people to deal with different board states, allies is one of those board states. They've already given us anaphylactic shock.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
In the Hunted, which is the instant trap that if I have already taken damage, when I play it, I deal 1 to the opposing hero and all allies on their board, right? It's a way of helping clear out all those little 1 health allies.
Each one that has dealt damage to you.
Each one that has dealt damage. So it's asking me to take a bunch of damage and then go play it. I think that's also just like another little mechanical wink to what might be coming in the future.
Yeah.
The next 2 mechanics that I want to touch on are mechanics that are admittedly kind of predicated on what classes I think we're going to see, right? So this is hopefully going to help lead us into our blue pitch talking about these returning classes. Mostly using context clues. Man, Ranger and Mech really fucking need some cards.
Yeah, I think Mech has lost more cards than they've gained this year so far.
Yeah, that's true. Losing High Octane really sucked for them.
With the idea of like Rangers and Mechs in our heads, I think the last time we saw those classes was in Arcane Rising. And in Arcane Rising, there was this consistent theme across the classes of top deck manipulation. It's very possible we could return to another set with a lot of top deck manipulation.
Oh.
This reminds me of something that Talon, our executive producer and my best friend, he said like this offhandedly while we were
thanks,
just
Fuzzy.
I know, he brings it up every time. Every time he's like, Talon, my best friend, by the way. We get it!
Do we bully Fuzzy too much on this podcast?
I was thinking we don't bully him enough.
But we were just in the car and we were talking about the Hunted Limited, and Talon's just kind of exhausted from it after like doing badly at a couple of draft events. He was like, I just want the next set to have like no quirky fun mechanics. I don't need no mark stuff. I don't want throwing daggers. Give me something simple like opt more. Just like a little bit of like top deck manipulation. That's all I want.
This guy's a fucking cheater. He wants to bottom his arsenal and look at the top.
Crazy.
So I think it's funny that you say that, because Talon was just saying that he was craving some like opting in a Flesh and Blood set, kind of like in Arcane Rising.
And in our Discord, our fans definitely came up with some ideas about what might be coming up in the new set. So I want to definitely throw a shout out to Equinox, Drakevin, and I want to say Prime Frog. It was the 3 of them who were chatting in there. But they were all sort of saying, as they were sort of talking about what classes might be showing up, they came up with like, we could end up with 3 classes who need support right now, who all kind of care about manipulating the top of their deck. Mechanologist with boosting, Ranger with, the Azalea flipping a dominated card off the top, and Brute, the possibility of like Brute.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that in Blue Pitch, but this idea of like manipulating the top of the deck and interacting with the top of the deck in interesting ways, I think is actually a really, really cool idea. And it would kind of make up for them not really printing a lot of contract support for Arachne Huntsman in the Hunted, right? It's like, don't worry, your support is coming, and the fact that we are giving you opponents who really care about what's on top of their deck that you can then mess up.
Ah, that's actually really interesting.
I kind of see it, yeah.
Wow.
I think like it also makes sense aesthetically. Like you're on the high seas. Even if you wouldn't call yourself a pirate, you have to be like navigating, exploring. You have your like sea charts. You have to be able to like look ahead at what's happening, and opting can be a great way to express that mechanically.
And even looking at like Magic and the Magic Explore mechanic, it was all about revealing the top of your deck. If it was a land, it went straight into the field. And if it was a non-land card, it would put a +1/+1 counter on the creature.
I wasn't going to bring up Magic, but now that you did, I want to say there's a Magic card called Opt, and it's got a pirate with a spyglass.
Yeah, like it's looking at the top of your deck is very, very commonly associated with like pirates and exploring in the high seas in these TCGs. So it's very likely, I think, that we'll see a return to that, and it provides some support for these potential other classes. The other mechanic I think we could see returning is the return of Reload.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think reloading is a really interesting mechanic that Rangers have had access to that we've never really seen show up again. And I feel like it's a unique design space that LSS would want to return to again.
Yeah, I love the idea of like a crossbow pirate.
Yeah.
And a crossbow pirate, I feel like the reloading is a big part of it because it's dramatic. To reload a crossbow, you gotta be like,
it's a whole process. Or even like reloading the cannons. Like think about every single naval battle that we've ever seen in film or television. There's like a big dramatic scene of someone like reloading a cannon to shoot at the other ship.
Canyon?
Did I say cannon?
Yeah, say it again. It's a fun phrase.
No, just bully me about it.
Reload a canyon to shoot the ship. Shoot at the other ship.
Yeah, to shoot the ship. So I think Reload could definitely make a return here. Though that is, again, completely predicated on us getting Ranger.
Yeah, I don't think any other class would really care about reloading the arsenal yet.
But it would make, like, Premeditate really good if they did print a generic card with Reload on it.
Is that generic?
Premeditate, yes.
Oh.
Premeditate's generic, but it's only ever been played in Ranger because it only gives the pump to the next attack from Arsenal.
Oh, wow.
What if, like, Pirates had, like, a skullduggery component where, like, if you played cards from Arsenal, they get an extra benefit or something?
Skullduggery?
Yeah.
Why did you choose that word?
Well, because skullduggery is, like, associated with pirates.
You never heard that.
I've never heard that word before.
Skullduggery. It's
so listeners, you have to understand. Joel looked at us with absolutely blank eyes before immediately going to his phone to look up this word.
It's like a cross between a combat maneuver and a prank.
It's
like fighting dirty.
It is a noun that means dishonest or underhanded behavior, or a trick or device to achieve a goal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, if they, like, step on a floorboard and the floorboard pops up and hits them in the balls or something, like, that would be skullduggery.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So, like,
You got me.
You, like, fire a shot out from Arsenal or whatever.
I can see that Flesh and Blood art, by the way, of like the pirate like stomping on the board on the ship. Because a pirate would do that. A pirate ship would have like the one fucked up board
that everybody knows.
That everybody knows about. But the moment that they get boarded by these other assholes, they're like, haha! And they get their nuts absolutely slammed.
And that's why we never repair that board.
Also, it's really funny to see the new guy on the ship like fall through. I also think that, like, what is the concept? Because we've talked a little bit about, like, Arcane returning with, like, maybe Necromancer having these arcane elements to it, or, like, this essence of Storm. So, like, is this a reaction set? Is this a go tall set? Like, what do we think the set's going to look like in terms of numbers? Because I found that they've kind of alternated between big numbers and small numbers. Big numbers and small numbers, right? Mm-hmm. Heavy hitters was big numbers. It was 3 for 7s and 3 for 6s. And then we went to Mistveil, which, like, Wounding Blow was like, whoa, wait, this card's really good in all the classes. This nice 0 for 4. And then in a similar vein, we went to Rosetta. The 3 for 7s dominated again. And then we went to Hunted, where once again, lots of small numbers.
1, but unpreventable.
Yeah. And now I think we're going to return to big numbers again.
I mean, even away from that, I think looking at Cut Through the Facade is a 3 for 7 itself. Mm-hmm. That plus Truce is also like a 2-costed non-attack action with no go again. Yeah. So I think we're looking at big numbies.
Yeah, but if we're looking at big numbies, does that really fall in line with like our idea of Ranger? Our idea of mech?
Ranger has big numbies.
Ranger pumps to big numbies.
Yeah. Or maybe this is time for the 3-costed arrow.
Yeah, bigger costed arrows.
Maybe a crossbow?
We've seen it be a thing.
Maybe that could be like the crossbow ranger.
Yeah. Oh.
Is they have poppers.
Oh.
Monkey ally.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
And parrot.
Okay. Joel, okay.
And when you have them together, they team up.
Holy.
They're best friends.
And they fuse into one demi-hero.
Yeah. I'm really looking
losing me.
I'm really looking forward to Joel predicting a captain hat legendary equipment.
If you equip this, you become a pirate.
Yeah.
And Clark's like, we're gonna have a legendary peg leg.
Okay, but like actually not legendary. But actually, like, what they've been doing with like the common sets of equipment is like creating a character and then showing like the 4 pieces of their outfit.
Yep.
I totally think it could be like the hook hand, the peg leg, the captain's coat, and then like the captain's hat.
Eye patch.
Oh, eye patch! Eye patch in the head slot. That's really good, Fuzzy. Yeah.
That's probably like a common.
Those would be
Yeah.
like the generic common equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you draft this card and suddenly you lose your eye.
Yeah.
It's great.
-1 intelligence, but like +5 health.
Last thing, do we think there's going to be a macro in the set?
Oh man.
Because they said in Rosetta that they loved macros and they're going to be returning to macros. Is this the set where we get the macro again?
This
Yep.
is the monkey ally macro.
Sure.
Everybody
But then,
gets a
like,
monkey. Here's your government issued monkey.
Here's your government issued mischievous pal.
He does skullduggery. Yeah.
I'll name mine Fred.
But macros, the only macro we've seen so far was just a way of like shoring up arcane damage and arcane prevention in the set. So I wonder what else they need to use a macro for, or what else they want to use a macro for. I think honestly, creating a limited environment that just plays around like a format like Joel, again, thinking back to your pirate, to our pirate episode, where your design had like swapping flags and like swapping game states. Sort of like
Field spell.
field spells, yeah. Like maybe the macro's like a field spell that like both sides can interact with.
That'd be kind of cool.
Like,
Wow.
Or
yeah.
That'd be so avant-garde.
what was the name of the Rosetta macro?
That was Sanctuary of Aria.
Could it be like the ports of Wraith?
It could be like the ports.
And you like trade gold for things?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Wow.
Yeah. It could be really, really interesting to see a new macro. in
There's
this
so much
set.
flavor they have to work with. It's
Yeah.
really fun to think about.
But flavor for who, you know?
For Joel.
Yeah.
For Joel and for Clark. And perhaps for Fuzzy.
Perhaps, yeah. I can
Fuzzy.
get behind some pirate flavor.
Fuzzy, who do you want to see don the old black and red and take to the high seas in our blue pitch?
All right, so for Blue Pitch, my commission is to be talking about returning classes and talents.
Holy.
We've already kind of touched about this a lot because we're really hyped to see potentially some Rangers come back, some Mechanologists maybe. One thing that we haven't talked a lot about yet is Brute. I've seen a lot of people online talking about Brutes potentially
Yeah.
showing up. I think part of the reason people are hungry for Brutes is because we haven't seen them since Heavy Hitters, and even in Heavy Hitters, they were kind of needed, right?
Yeah.
Like,
in heavy hitters, they received less new cards than the other two classes.
so let's get some new Brute cards in here. We've also seen a Lobster character show up on the art for a nip at the heels, and I've seen a lot of people like excited at the idea of like Lobster Brutes showing up. And now Clark is a naysayer. Clark doesn't think we're going to have Lobster Brutes, but I actually think it makes total sense to me because the Brutes that we've seen in the game are either like this
They're-
other species
They're
almost.
all from the Savage Lands.
Yeah, they're non-human or they're Leviah. And I think Leviah is supposed to be flavored as part demon, as in, again, another non-human.
Yes, but I think it more has to do with Levi as a brute because she is summoning and running an army of shadow brutes. Like if you look at all of her shadow brute cards, they aren't just demons, they're specifically brutes who have been corrupted by the demonastery.
Oh.
like Endless Maw, Deadwood Rumbler.
Okay.
And who's to say they didn't recruit a crab?
Who's to say they can't be crabs? You're not wrong.
So some lobster people being like the non-human representation and they stick the brute label on that. I could see it working out pretty well, you know?
They just better fucking give us a Savage Land set where they actually give brutes a real name.
I know.
And like identity.
And I know I'm talking really nebulously here, but like
Sure.
if you have claws for hands and then you have to discard to make your cards work, why does that make so much sense to me? You got choppers, and you got to discard your hand? Like,
Is this a rock set?
is it time for rock?
Where you have no cards in hand and you're like incentivized to discard and use your claws, your meaty claws to throw a rock?
And like the ocean, like gives you like extra resources where you get like the nutrients from the bottom of the sea.
So true, bestie.
I'm totally losing Clark here, but I swear it makes sense in my mind.
Fuzzy, what the fuck are you talking about?
It just seems so doable in my mind. Like it makes a lot of sense.
Claws are discarding?
Yeah.
Well, you can't hold cards with claws.
Exactly.
Clark.
Audience!
And the sheer strength, because it's claws.
Tell me if you associate discarding with claws.
Because claws are sheer strength without dexterity, right? And literally
Yeah.
throwing cards out of your hand in order to pump your effects seems like the brutish, unelegant energy that could be expressed mechanically as claws. It makes sense to me.
Sure.
Can you at least have one crab arm and the other one's like a regular arm? Would that make you happy, Clark?
No.
Okay, no claws.
So I've also heard merchant class being brought up. Again, we've already talked about it a little bit, but merchant is the class that has technically existed in the game for ages, a long time, since Crucible, right?
Yeah.
Crucible of War, the first supplementary set in the game. It might be time for them finally to be realized as an actual class. It would also be like slightly easier to make a new class as merchant than a new class as pirate, because merchant has, again, a nominal amount of support in the game already.
Yeah, they have like some 30 odd cards, I want to say.
No, they have like 3. They have 2 heroes and silver palms.
Hold on.
You're thinking of Bard.
Wow, you're right. Merchant doesn't even show up on Fabrary in their like card distribution graph.
I did forget about Squizzy and Floof, so 3 heroes.
Yeah.
Squizzy and Floof is a merchant?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Goofy ass.
No, for real.
It could be that they're saving merchant for these special use promos, right? Because they've handed out enough of these like fabric promos that are for merchants that like it would be a little bit funky now if they have CC legal merchants, because then
Yeah.
people could get confused which merchant cards are legal for CC and which merchant cards aren't. I could see that being a little bit of like a little hurdle that they don't want in the game.
Similarly, like Bard, though no one else really online is talking about, I think Bard could be one of the possible classes that like is getting the CC version.
Sure.
Because like if you look at Melody, and then if you look at the main character in Shelter from the Storm, like they kind of got similar vibes going on, you know? But I just don't think that LSS wants to print CC versions of those heroes.
One item that I don't think has been brought up yet that I would be really excited to see is flintlock pistols.
Yes.
Because traditionally, those bitches are hard to reload. And they're usually only one fire use, and then you have to like discard it or like reload it later because you have to like, you know, put like the gunpowder in there and like stuff it down.
Very mechanologist flavored.
Very mechanologist flavored. And you would obviously have to have like multiple of them because they're like one shot. So maybe there's like another equipping mechanic that we saw from Hunted enter whatchamacallit,
Yeah.
High Seas.
Yeah. Oh, God, I love that. Also, shout out to in Red Pitch when I mentioned Truce, who was on the other side of that little agreement. It was Metrics.
Yeah.
Metrics with the mechanologists.
Maybe they sold their gunpowder for lightning.
Maybe they have the technology that they can use to make really advanced chips.
Yeah. I also want to shout out Brian Gottlieb being like, I don't want to return to Boost. And like one of the early dev talks around Bright Lights, he was like, I do not want to design around Boost again. Like doing the all Boost set of Bright Lights, I think was a really, really big restriction for them that I think made them print a lot of underpowered cards that made everybody upset.
Definitely.
0 to 50, my fucking nemesis. So like
Also,
seeing
Boost
this
is so lame.
it's an interesting idea.
It was cool in like 2020.
Moving on. Yeah. Like
It was so cool in 2020.
they also probably exhausted like a lot of their ideas of what they could even do with Boost in
For
that
sure.
set.
For sure.
So like I would love to see this brand new way of tackling mechanologists without having to rely on what is probably their most central mechanic. And I think by going into items, it'd be really interesting. Because if there's gold support, like I said in Yellow Pitch, gold's an item. Mechanologists do stuff with items. So, like, they could very easily, like, work a gold support mechanologist into the class.
Badass.
Yeah. And with these flintlock pistols, maybe you, like, sacrifice a gold to make a new pistol token, which you could attack
You got
with.
me. I might actually play mech if that's a thing.
Yeah.
I think another class that we are, I'm going to say it, traditionally haters on this podcast, that's Illusionist.
Yes. I would say that is fair and valid.
We kind of devoted a whole episode to saying what we don't like about Illusionist one time.
Haven't really done that for any other class.
Yeah.
But you know what I would really dig is like a siren.
Yeah.
Yo.
So like a female coded monster that like sings and like lures the pirates over. And that's like an illusion, right? Like an illusion that infects your brain waves.
I mean, we've seen a lot of magic adjacent stuff with these ships in the high seas, right? Like the Demonastery is out on the ocean. Like the seas have very much been associated with like a raw primal magic.
Yeah.
Illusionist tapping into that makes a lot of sense.
Alternatively, think about when you're on a pirate ship, right? There's like flintlock pistols going off.
Oh yeah, the last time I was on a pirate ship, there was flintlock pistols everywhere.
Exactly. And like cannonball fire and all this like smoke coming around.
It's very
like,
disorienting.
That was a wild party that Hornswoggle invited us to.
and it got me thinking about this next set. What if Illusionist uses like smoke as an illusion, like the gunpowder, like some type of like Gara looking character, you know?
It's one of my favorite aesthetics is people who just like control mist and smoke.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cool.
That would be a pretty cool illusionist. It might not be waifu, so it might not sell well, but I think that'd be a pretty cool take on illusionist.
Give me a
our
male illusionist.
Yeah, male illusionist.
Yeah, where's my twink illusionist, dude? Come on.
He doesn't have to be a twink. He could be fat,
Could
and
be
beefy.
Could be an otter, could be a bear, whatever.
Yeah.
I think if there was like a twink illusionist, it would get my boyfriend playing the game again. He just wants a little cute illusionist boy.
Don't we all?
Switching to talents that we might see again, I want to give a shout out to lightning.
Ooh.
I think we could totally see like lightning flavored talents. And mechanically, I think instants could be a way that we could get that like swashbuckling skullduggery energy going.
That was really like what you were focusing on in your pirate section, Clark, was like these instants to, you know, get a lot of value from your cards.
Yeah, instants are tricky, but they're really attack action focused because you still need to be able to deal damage, and like your instants aren't dealing damage. They did already do that design space in Lightning. And the reason why I feel more apprehensive about Lightning is because they just did Lightning
They did just do it, yeah.
in Rosetta. But we also said the same thing about Assassin, right? Like, there's no way they're going to do Assassin again in the Hunted. We just got it in Part the Mistveil. Ninja and Assassin?
I mean, when they did Uprising, they did the second Ice Talented hero, like, only 2 sets after the first.
Yeah.
And even in between there was another Ice Talented hero in between, where they did Tales of Aria, where they introduced 3 talents, then Starvo in Dynasty, and then they went back to Iceland. They technically did Icelander in
Jesus, that's
in
true.
Everfest,
Yeah.
but then like Icelander got like fully realized in Uprising.
They really
so-
laid that on thick, huh? They wanted ice in the format.
Yeah.
Ice, baby.
I don't want to see Ice return, though, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
I
that was
don't-
my next point. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was a weird segue. But I also think Ice could return in High Seas, not just Lightning, but Ice as well.
I mean, I know we need Ice to return, right? Because we need the Lexi replacement.
I don't know that that's a given. We have one Ice hero. He has a place in the format because we just saw the most Ice disrespectful deck, aka Redline Syndra, like win a whole event. She is a pretty strong deck. It just runs all reds, and go figure, you can deal a bunch of damage. But then, like, it gets shut down by Ice, which is why Jarl's also seeing another resurgence. Do we want more Ice heroes to come back into the game?
I would take like one more ice hero.
I wouldn't mind the Ice replacement for Lexi, right? Whether they decide to go the Briar route where they're like splitting them into 2 sides, or they're going for more of how they did Jarl with like the full direct reprint, right?
All right, Clark, I have a unfair question for you.
Sure.
If you only had to bring back one Ranger character in the pirate set, would it be Lexi or Riptide?
Oh, fuck. If I say Lexi, I think Talon will...
Cut funding.
I think he will. I think next time I'm in his car, he's going to crash. I'm going to say Riptide.
Yeah, not to mention the other Riptide diehards in our chat, would just dox the hell out of you.
Okay, blink once for Lexi, blink twice for Riptide. I'm telling Talon.
I blinked twice!
He blinked once, audience.
I did, that's right.
You can't prove me otherwise.
No, I'm so happy that you mentioned actual returning heroes because I think Riptide is the most likely to return. I think he fits the high seas concept so exceptionally well.
Yeah, like an undead, like not even really undead, but like a spooky, gross pirate army.
Yeah. Also, just like what I was saying with reload, like if reload is a mechanic, or if they like don't do reload, Riptide has reload printed on his character. Like it's on the hero card to reload.
True.
So like reloading could be a very big deal. Like maybe we could see 2 Ranger heroes. It's been a while since we've gotten that, right? Where like 2 heroes technically exist, occupy the same space in the shape of the limited format, right?
Riptide and Lexi? Oh.
Or Riptide and a brand new Ranger even, right? So like the brand new Ranger has a crossbow where you pay to reload, but Riptide plays a little bit differently because he naturally reloads. So they both play into the reload synergy, but one through their weapon and the other through their hero ability.
It could be badass.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Sounds pretty badass to me.
I think crossbows just need to make their grand entrance already.
Yeah.
TB dubs.
I think we've gushed about the set for enough for one episode. I hope you guys all enjoy hyping up with us. Do you guys want to move on to our Arsenal Zone?
Sure. Yeah. Listeners, the Arsenal Zone is a part of our podcast where we talk about a card we love, a card we hate, a card we love to hate, a card we hate to love, or a card that's just, yeah. We're going to start off our Arsenal Zone by giving a shout out to one of our Patreon subscribers. So at the $5 or $10 tier of our Patreon, you have the ability to suggest a card for us to shout out at the end of the podcast in our Arsenal Zone.
I'm so excited that we get to start doing this.
Yeah. It's going to be so cool to like not just have to talk about the cards that we care about, but the cards that other people care about too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it says here on my dice, Aussie Pepper.
Let's go.
Aussie Pepper.
Thank you, by the way, for subscribing to our Patreon. Very kind of you.
So Aussie Pepper has selected Provoke as their card.
Fantastic choice.
Yes. So Provoke is a card from the most recent set, The Hunted. It is a blue 1-cost 3 block, a warrior attack reaction that says, if you're attacking with a weapon this chain link, the defending hero reveals a card from their hand. If it's an action card, add it to this chain link as a defending card, otherwise they discard it. This is the first real piece of warrior disruption that they've ever gotten, and this is very similar to another very powerful disruption card that we all love to hate, Siren's Call.
I think objectively better and more wide range than Siren's Call. And Peter also had this quip to add. He said, it's a way for warriors to force their opponents to block and turn on all of our other cool attack reactions. And I agree. It seems like they kind of wanted to add a little bit more oomph to the reprise cards that we're like forced to use, like Glint the Quicksilver, for example. And I think overall, just like the implications of this card and what it will activate for the rest of warrior cards to come is so exciting.
I like how this card really outlines to me how I'm playing a different game of Flesh and Blood than these warrior mains are. Because I'm reading this card, I'm like, you're paying 1 to force them to block, and that's it. Like, they don't even really, unless they decide to show you an instant, because they get to choose which card they're blocking with. Siren's Call seems way better because you choose the card that they block, you get the information no matter what, and you draw a card if it procs correctly. This card doesn't give you the draw. It's completely up to them what they show you, and you still have to pay 1 for it. I don't know.
Yeah. Plus, if it's a non-attack action card, it still doesn't necessarily turn on like everything that warriors want to turn on.
Yeah.
A lot of the warrior design in heavy hitters was specifically blocking with an attack action card.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of context to consider when playing this card, because if they give you a non-attack card, like for instance in Runeblade, if you have a redundant non-attack action that's like a lot of life you're saving with like extra rune chance, or maybe it's like an arc lightning or something. Also, if it's like their only attack in an Aurora's hand, that could also be really good. Otherwise, they're discarding these instances that would enable like a Gone in a Flash turn or something. I think just like, number one, the information you're getting from your opponent, but also like them just losing a card no matter what is super valuable, especially when warriors are notorious for not being able to race any of these aggressive decks.
Yeah, so much of the warrior play pattern, the way of beating a warrior, I should say, the way that people play into warrior is either no blocks or all blocks, right? Mm-hmm. I'm either giving you my entire hand so that all of your reactions are just dead and you IP yourself, or I'm not giving you shit, dude. You show me that you have value that can beat what I have.
Right.
And this is a card that doesn't allow for that second strategy. Mm-hmm. It forces you to enter into the mid-range back and forth that they want you to.
Yeah, and a lot of decks cannot compete with a warrior in that same vein.
Mm-hmm. And it's also blue block 3, so how good does the card have to be in order to be worth running?
Yeah. It's a great blue. I mean, how often have you, Joel, on here lamented the state of warrior blues?
Yeah, we have like comically terrible blues in our card pool. So I think this might be the first like really solid one since like Glint the Quicksilver.
Yeah, since like Glint.
Yeah.
So great shout out.
Yeah, great shout out. Thank you so much, Peter, for submitting your options. And feel free to do so if you're listening to this now and you have a card that you really want us to shout out. I think next, though, we should go over to Clark. What do you got?
So my card selection for today is Glyph Overlay. Throughout this episode, we have been talking about cards that sort of hinted at the high seas or like had pirates or ocean stuff, Leviathans in the background. And Glyph Overlay is one of those cards that I really love. One is that it doesn't really say a lot about pirates when you really look at it, right? They're just kind of like a ship out at sea and a big sigil out there. Mm-hmm. But Glyph Overlay itself is an extremely cool card, right? It's one, underrate, but it has the ability to be so much more. It's like you're asking for it to be broken. The new Wizard arm piece that amps 1 every single time a sigil has left the arena, and then the ability for this to like get rid of a bunch of cards from the arena, it's so cool. And I want to see a deck that can finally break this card and have it come in for like 10 and gaining a bunch of life and like shuffling all these sigils back and then drawing a bunch of cards. Like I want to see this as...
Did he say 10?
Yeah, it can get up really, really
that's
high.
So good.
And then like following it up with something else because you broke the arms piece. Like I want to see this card get broken. I also think it is quite possibly the one thing that might be saying, hey, maybe there's wizards in this upcoming set.
Yeah, there's apparently an alternate art of this card too.
Really?
I don't know if you've seen it.
No.
I'll show you right now.
Oh.
I think I have seen that. It's very pretty.
I'll describe it to you, listeners. It's this person who has a staff. They are on their like tippy toes and they're like floating on water and they're sort of like making a glyph in the water with their staff. Very wizard coded to me.
Very wizard.
Personally.
I also want to point out, and this was my little factoid that I mentioned having and I was saving. Wizards have one of the least amount of just straight class cards. It is Rangers and Wizards. So if we're talking about which classes need new cards, Wizards. And this could be the one thing that's telling us, hey, Wizards are in this set. That's it. That's my card.
Fantastic shout.
Joel, do you want to go next?
Sure. So I want to talk about Trench of Sunken Treasure, mostly to scold you. Because what the fuck are you doing? Like literally, okay, so at the RTN, High Seas got revealed at like 2 our time. And then that evening, Trench of Sunken Treasure skyrocketed to like $150.
Oh my God.
Which I don't think it's ever broke 50 in its lifetime. So I'm like, number one, doesn't say pirate on there, just has a picture of a pirate, and they haven't confirmed what classes will be in the pirate. It's like, what are you speculating for? Like, this makes no sense. Stop buying this card. Stop selling it for such absurd prices. Be for real. Because number one, Flamescale Furnace spiked for the same reason. No one's using that. Number two, Tome of Imperial Flames spiked for the same reason. No one's using that. Save your money. Don't be stupid. That's my card.
Yeah.
That really upset me when I saw it. I was like, what are you doing?
It's ridiculous if it's at 150, dude. That is insane. Because I love that card. That card is not that good.
I know.
It's going to be really hard to get the Flamescale Furnace felt safe. Trench
Yeah.
does not seem like that safe of an investment.
Sorry, at the time of recording, the cold foil extended art is 185 TC Kilo.
And that's not even the most expensive version of Trench.
Yeah, there's also
We
a
know.
gold foil.
Oh, I'm still seeing Rainbow Foil at like $40, $45.
Sure.
Good shout, Joel.
Thanks. I had to get that out.
It's exactly the type of stuff we need to be like telling people in our arsenal.
Yeah,
zone.
don't buy into the hype, man. It's not worth it.
There's also a lot of controversy around Flesh and Blood prices right now, and like it's
Yeah.
a great indicative example of like what I think people are getting upset at.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is it my turn?
Yeah. Did you figure it out? You
Yeah,
found the
yeah.
card? Okay.
So for my Arsenal Zone card today, I want to take this opportunity to shout out my pet project, the Crucible tournament that I'm running.
Oh,
Every chance I get, I like
this
talking
is
about
the
it.
first I've heard of it.
Join the Patreon, participate.
This month's format is Uncommoner. And when this episode released, there might be like one more week of Uncommoner. So I feel like it's okay for me to talk about what I'm doing without spoiling any of it. I've decided that the thing that I'm most excited for in a format where at launch it's all rares, majestics, and legendaries with like no ban list. I wanted to play Duskblade. I've never been able
Oh,
to
you're so cringe.
I've never been able to play Duskblade before. And when you think about like what makes a good Duskblade deck, like it's in case you've never heard of this card before, because it literally never saw the light of day. It was literally banned as the set was released because they realized, like, I guess just a little bit too late.
Yeah. I also don't think I've ever seen anybody open a Duskblade.
I don't know if it's in the unlimited packs. I don't know. So at base, you pay 1 to swing for 2. It's a two-handed sword. But when you attack with it, if you played an attack action card and a non-attack action card, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it, like Dawnblade. And at the end of your turn, if you haven't played an attack action and non-attack action card, then you remove all the +1 counters, like Dawnblade. It's like Dawnblade, but it's Duskblade. And it's a Runeblade thing. So, like, the natural way that you play this card is, like, Nimblism, Scar for a Scar, swing the Duskblade, right? But those are both commons. So if you think about, like, what cards do you have access to in Uncommoner, like, you're not allowed to play commons. So I'm looking through the list, and there's some, like, nice ones. Plunder Run sounds great. Swarming Gloomveil sounds great. You know, there's definitely good options. But then you start to run out, because that's, like, the fun part about Crucible, is you have these restrictions. The first half of the deck can be really obvious, but then the second half, you're, like, scratching your head, like, okay, how do I actually fill out this deck list? So I had in my deck a card that I hate.
Whoa.
But I just need tools in this god-awful format.
I think I know what this card is.
It is Emissary of Wind.
Never mind, that is not the card I thought it was.
Emissary of Wind was one of those cards from Mistveil where it's like they separated E-Strike into 3 shitty versions of it
Yeah.
that all block for 2 and they swing for 4 and they give you like Go Again or drawing a card. Emissary of Wind gets Go Again. But you have to you may bottom a card in order to get Go Again. Otherwise it's just a 0 for 4. Because there's only so many 0-cost Go Again attacks that exist in the game that aren't common. I can't run Scar for a Scar. I can't run Ravenous Rabble. Like, I can't run my favorites, so I have to run these weird-ass ones.
No Rune Rager Swarm.
Right, yeah. Like, it's just a little bit rough out here for a fuzzy, so I'm running these cards that I don't really like.
Oh my god.
And we'll see what works. I'm sure it'll be fun. I'm really I haven't even had a chance to try out this deck yet. I'm really excited to see how it plays.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say lead the charge, but I realize now that's
Oh, man. I also really don't like Lead the Charge.
Yeah, it's literally just like you gain Go Again smiley.
It's not often Fuzzy hates cards, so this is really fun.
Yeah, it's like every time in draft, I will like never draft like this card. I hate it that much.
It's funny because I've drafted it before in Enigma.
Yeah.
And I know that it's like not that bad because a lot of people seem to like it. Anyway, I have brought a copy for each of you that I will sign, as is tradition here on the podcast.
Oh.
One for you and one for you.
Thank you, Fuzzy.
All right, I think that's all I got.
Yeah, I think that's
Cool.
the end of the Arsenal Zone, and unfortunately, the end of our episode.
And if you want to play on Crucible, subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, another Patreon shout out here at the end. If you've made it all the way through the episode, hopefully you
Give us your money.
And one thing I want to make clear with Crucible is that, like, I always post the format in public places, so there's nothing stopping you from making your own deck and playing with your friends or other people on the podcast. I only do official pairings for people subscribed to Patreon. So if you want me to literally hand you an opponent on a silver platter each week so you can, like, have a dedicated way to play it, that's what the Patreon's for.
Yeah. We also offer a lot of other things. We did the shout out today in the Arsenal Zone, where we give you the chance to put some content actually into the episode by suggesting a card and a little blurb to go along with it. And we also have our $10 tier where we do monthly hangouts and we write little articles about our thoughts in the game, whether those are strategic, deck building, or just what's going on in the world of Flesh and Blood for us.
Yeah.
I think everyone is really, really excited for the high seas. And I expect this set to pop the absolute fuck off. I cannot wait for pre-release weekend, especially with that brand new announcement that multiple pre-releases at one store.
Oh, yeah.
So much extra product, especially in the US. Admittedly, a little bit of US privilege
Let's
here.
go.
But our Nats are like the week after pre-release, so give us a break, I guess. But like, I cannot wait for the amount of cases that I am going to buy of this set.
Oh, God.
The amount of drafts that I am going to run of this set
Hell yeah.
is going to be so much fun. I'm going to get you to Nats ready.
Damn,
We'll see.
That's so hard.
I'm comically bad at drafts, so that's quite the tall order.
Hey, I've been working really hard on Hunted, and you did really good in the first draft of this last RTM.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Pitch It To Me podcast is hosted by Fuzzy Delp, Clark Moore, and Joel Recinos. Our executive producer is Talon Stradley. Logistics coordinator, John Farkas. Music by Dillon Hulse. Logo by Han V. And sound mixing by Christopher Moore. Last but not least, we'd like to thank you, the listener. Thank you for tuning in. Please give us a follow on your favorite social media platform at Pitch It To Me podcast. I have heard some people say that pirates are going to be the CC merchants.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
So we'd get our first, like, CC merchant.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Because, like,
Aren't pirates just, like, quirky and random businessmen?
Aren't they just capitalists? And they're not, right? Like, explicitly, they're very anti-capitalist.
they're like capitalists by force, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're specifically anti-capitalists. They were fucking the man. Oh, what, you're not gonna let us get gay married? Fuck you, we're gonna get gay married on a boat and then steal your gold, motherfucker.
Yeah, we just got Arya with
Sorry.
We turned it on for the bit.
that motherfucker Captain Hornswoggle.
Shut
Captain
up. we're
Hornswoggle,
recording.
we're doing our podcast.
He's
That's
probably
your
just
chance.
updating us on the pirates.
And if you want to join those lovely coots, is that okay to say?
Coots?
Like, you know, coots.
Oh, you mean like those old coots?
No.
I know old coots. I know
Yours is
Coots?
closer to a slur.
I know Coots, the cat, Ludwig's cat,
Yeah.
which was named after Coochie, aka Pussy.
Oh, man, okay.
Those are the two Coots I know. Oh, and Cooties.
Yeah.